Okay, we're back to the Magic Gathering cover over of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We've just gone through all of white, and now we're going to continue on with all of the blue colours. So if you didn't see the white section, go ahead and watch that one. These are basically my unscripted opinions on this set. I don't know too much about the spoilers, and as of today, this is when pre-release is going on, but I just felt like going through all the cards as they stand, each colour, because honestly, if I did all of them in one go, this would be way too long a single part. So now we're going to be looking at blue, starting with Acquisition Octopus. This is another equipment creature, cool. And it's an octopus, relevant creature type for certain things. Let's see here, whenever it deals combat damage, draw a card. Honestly, for the body it's on, for the equipment cost, I feel like there's better cards for this. The Morph one, not Morph, the Mutate one back in Ikoria was slightly better than this, but honestly not awful. I just don't see it being played too heavily because being a creature is probably more removable than it was as just an equipment. Let's see here, Anchor to Reality, 4 mana and an additional cost. You have to sacrifice an artifact or creature. Ooh, this better be a good card. Search your library for a equipment or vehicle, not even an artifact, just a vehicle, and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. If it has mana value less than the sacrifice permanent, scry 2. I don't know how I feel about that one. That's very weird, because technically it's actually a creature search too, because there's a lot of, as we've seen, equipment creatures, but 4 mana tutor instantly into the battlefield. Actually, no, that's actually really good. Ignore me, that's actually really good because it actually doesn't state how much it has to cost. It can be more expensive than the original. If it's less than, that's when you get to do stuff. So, quick, cheap sack outlet, get something really big into play. Commander's Plate, let's go with that one. Make a card indestructible. No, yeah, that's actually kind of really cool. Like, it's a bit high cost, especially with sacrificing another card, but 3 into the battlefield, no, that's actually really cool. Let's see, Arm Guard Familiar, Equipment Beast. It gives Ward 2, the creature equipped to it gets +2/+1 and Ward 2, and it equipped for 4. 2/1 bird, no, oh no, it's not even a bird. It doesn't gain flying, 2/1 creature, it's meh, it's very meh. Like, 2/1 is an okay body for having an additional effect. But I worry about an additional effect. Ward is just okay mechanic. Paying 2 to additionally target something falls off really quickly. The fact it costs 4 to equip it to a card and it's still removable. The fact it has Ward 2 itself though is kind of nice. It's okay. It's okay. I would definitely use it in sealed if I had like limited choices. I wish it was a 2/2, not a 2/1. Awakened Awareness. Blue and X. Oh, we got an X spell. Let's see. Enchant artifact or creature. Okay, Hydro effect. It gets a number +1/+1 counters equal to it. Let's see here. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it has base power 1/1. What? Is this what? That's weird. So it's a card you can pay into to make something really big using the X cost. But the original creature becomes a 1/1. Doesn't lose its ability, just becomes a 1/1. So you can either equip it to your opponent just for the 2 cost and not pay X, and just like make it a 1/1 creature. Say Tarask, for example. I know Tarask has Ward 10, but just for a moment doesn't. Or you can make it, put a lot of mana into it and make something really big, but lose its original power? I mean, on a Hydra this would be okay, because changing a base power of a Hydra to a 1/1 just makes it so it doesn't die if you remove all its counters, but that's weird. I kind of like it because it's versatile. The fact it's 2 blue is a bit detrimental, but it's interesting. I actually kind of like that one. Next Saga's up. Behold the Unspeakable. Creature you don't control get -2/-1. -2/-0, so they get smaller. I like the fact it says all creatures, that's nice. Let's see, if you have 1 or fewer cards in your hand, draw 4 cards, otherwise scry 2, and then draw 2. That is kind of cool. Like, just straight up draw 2 cards, or draw more if you don't have a hand. And what's the creature on the other side? Visions of Unspeakable, Flying Trample. Gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand. I really like that. I really want this card for my Group Hug deck. Because, okay, the first effect isn't very Group Hug, but my deck allows you to draw a lot of cards. And honestly, that's actually kind of nice. 5 mana is a lot, but being able to draw cards for that and have an additional protection effect, no, I kind of like that one. That's kind of a nice saga. Covert Technician, Ninjutsu Guard, so swap it into combat. Whenever it deals combat damage, you may put a artifact card of mana value equal to or less than the damage dealt onto the battlefield. So at base, it puts a 2 mana artifact into play. Where's it from? Let's see here. You may put a card with 2 mana. Oh, from your hand. Okay, I see hand now. The text is very small. I'm kind of squinting to read some of it. Nope, that's kind of a nice Ninjutsu creature. It's cheap. It's easy to swap out. It does something relevant. Like it. Decent card. Decent uncommon. Discover the impossible. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Exile one of them face down. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. You may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost if it's an instant spell with mana 2 or less. If you don't... Hang on. You may cast that spell without paying its mana cost if it's an instant spell with 2 or less. And if you don't, put that card into your hand. Hang on, I need to read this again. I think I misread this. Look at the top 5 cards. Exile 1. You may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. If it's 2... Okay, yeah, so... If it's a cheap spell, you get to cast it for free. If not, you add it to your hand. Okay, I misread that for a second. I thought it was the other way around. Like the other card effect, which just, like, was really dumb and just, like, let you put something in for free. No, this specifically says, like, it has to be 2 or less, so... It's not bad. It's a 3 mana add a card to your hand for instant speed. Out of the top 5, there's worse cards you could play for this, and possibly you could hit a counter spell if you really need it. So it's interesting. It's not advantage, it's net neutral for a lot of it, so it's okay. It's decent. Disruption Protocol. As additional cost to cast this, you must tap an artifact or pay 1 to counter a spell. As far as counter spells go, for 2 blue, that's not fantastic. Like, okay, tapping a creature isn't the worst. No, sorry, tap an artifact. It's not even a creature. That's a really kind of poor counter spell. Like, yeah, it could be relevant sometimes, but honestly, it depends on how big the vehicle pool is going to be in the like artifact department. But I don't like that one as a counter spell. I feel like it's got too many restrictions. Essence Capture. 2 blue. Counter target creature spell. Put a +1/+1 counter on the creature you control. See? Just much more better counter spell because it doesn't have a restriction and it gives you an upside. The only restriction being it's not instant and sorcery, but the only downside to this one is I don't know how much creature heavy blue is. On combination stuff it probably is more relevant, but +1/+1 counter isn't a great upside, just a counter target creature. But at least it's only 2 mana, and I think this one is actually a reprint. I don't remember, but I feel like I've seen Extra Capture before. Let's see here. Futurist Operative, Human Ninja. As long as it's tapped... hang on, what? As long as it's tapped, it's a human citizen with base power, toughness 1/1 and can't be blocked. Okay, so it becomes an 1/1 unblockable card when it's tapped. So, yeah, I guess you declare an attack, it becomes unblockable for ninjutsu strategies. Not bad, and it has the untap effect, which is nice. Not awful, 3/4 for 4 mana. It's got relevant text to other stuff in the set, so yeah, decent card. Futurist Sentinel. Crew 3 card. Okay, so we've got our first Crew 3 for a 6/6 generic card. 4 mana for 6/6. Crew 3 with stuff which allows you to crew easier. Yeah, I'd say that's generically playable. Like, okay, being in blue, like, we haven't seen too many big things, but The last card we saw was a 3/4, so that's a card which works for it. And I see a 3/4 coming up, so yeah, no, not pretty decent actually. I like it. Goshinari, the Lost Wisdom is another shrine, another creature shrine. Flying, at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, target player mills X card or X's number of shrines you control. So it looks like the theme of this one is that you must pay 1 to these shrines. But again, Shrine Tribal is a thing, so, you know, it's relevant. The fact it's a creature, though, is still concerning me, though. But it is finally giving creatures to the shrineless board. And the mill effect isn't, like, something to mock. Like, one of the shrines, like, allows you to duplicate effects anyway. Like, set them off twice. And given that there was already strategy just abusing, like, up to 4 shrines to do stuff, adding like more to the pile is not like anything to laugh at. Guardians of Oboro, 3 mana defender. Modified creatures you control attack as if they didn't have defender. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder how much defender's actually in this then. Probably not a lot, but that's kind of interesting. That could be used in certain things. Like, admittedly, it's going to have to be specifically. Actually, no. Modified is equipment ores. And counters count as modifications. That's actually a lot stronger than it looks. Like the Arcadia strategy, just adding a generic pump spell to them means that everything becomes an attacker. That is kind of cool. I like that. That's actually kind of like secretly really good. Not to mention, it fuels the vehicle cost for the Sentinel there, so yeah. Intervene interaction. I misread that, but whatever. Return target creature or Planeswalker to its owner's hand. The fact that it says Planeswalker is really cool. I think that's the first time I've actually seen it say Planeswalker on any of these cards. Return target artifact even, from your graveyard to your hand, and if you can't draw a card, does something you fail to search. That's nice. And what's the creature do? Let's see here. Moonfolk, 3/3, flying. Whenever you cast a card, your opponent can't cast cards with the same mana value as that spell to your next turn. What the heck? Oh, that is it once per turn, or is it? Hang on. Whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast a spell with the same mana value as that spell to your next. That's really weird. So if you cast a spell like Opt, the draw 1, scry 1, draw 1, then they can't cast spells which cost 1. If you cast a counter spell, they can't cast spells which cost 2 until your next turn. That actually could be really fast lockout, like, and it says spells, so that includes creatures, planeswalkers, basically anything which isn't a land, like locking them out of. That could be really terrifying if done right, especially in like storm strategies. I actually am scared of this card. That actually could be really nasty. The fact it takes 3 turns to go off means they got time to remove it, but at the same time, like, it has a return effect on it, so you can recur something. It has a bounce spell on it, so you do that. 4 mana is not a lot for that kind of effect. Okay, Evoke the Wilds. This is the first, like, 4 blue and 1. So we saw one in the other set, which was 4 blue and 1 for the Resurrection White spell. Gain control of target, artifact or creature and untap it. Its opponent take control of card effect. It doesn't say till end of turn. It's a lot of mana for what it does. A lot of mana for what it does. The fact it doesn't have a restriction of how long you keep the card is nice. I worry it's too expensive in the blue department to be useful. But I don't dislike it, because taking control of a card, especially with the amount of like copy target spell cards which exist in blue and red, could be really good, but it is very expensive. Ninjutsu. This is the Progress Tyrant. This is a card which is seeing a new variation. I've seen the original Ninjutsu. Ninjutsu originally was really nasty because basically at the beginning of your upkeep you drew 7 cards. And your opponent's max hand size was reduced by 7. That was the original card effect of the first variation of this one, which was horrible. Like, it's terrifying when you can't have a hand size. So what does this one do? This is a mythic one, so it could be like the Vornaclex from Kaldheim. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. That is interesting that it has artifact on there, so it copies a spell immediately. So, oh, this ability triggers once each turn. So, okay, so hard once per turn. So, not as nasty. Oh, let's see, a copy of a permanent becomes a token. Okay, so cast a Soul Ring. This thing sees it. Base a second Soul Ring. Simple enough. Okay, kind of cool. Second line of text: whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. Oh my god. Okay, that's kind of nasty. So just straight up once per turn, cancel, like absolutely like negate a spell. So they have to spend mana on a useless spell, on a spell which won't do anything before they can play their turn. And it's once per turn, so that includes yours, your opponent's, and however many opponents you've got. So that basically just like is an absolute punish. And for 7 mana, that's not too hard to get by, especially in Commander. I can see that being a very nasty include in a lot of decks, especially in blue, because blue just loves to do his cancelling effects. I mean, of course it is blue, but it might just be just like an add-on to just any strategy rather than just generically. Kari the Surling Sky, I think this is part of that dragon cycle I was talking about. So it is, yeah, when it dies it has an effect. So 6 mana, flying and ward free, so it's got its own protection in it, which makes it hard to kill. It's a 6/6. I don't remember what the other one was, but I'm pretty sure it's smaller than that. Return any number of target non-land permanents to the hand of mana value 6 or less. Okay, so bounce things up to a certain cost. Not bad. Mill 6 cards, return 2 instant sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, a 6 and a 6/6 is nice. The fact it's got some protection is nice. I feel like its effects are just a bit too weak compared to what the other one was, if I remember rightly. The fact that because the other one I think allowed you to like add resources to your hand. This one just returns 2 spells or bounces things, which is nice, is really good, but for giving up a 6 mana creature, I feel like it's just not as strong. But still interesting nonetheless. Okay, March of the Swirling Mist. This is the X spell I was concerned about. Let's see, additional cost to cast a spell you may reveal. Yep, this is the exile blue cards from your hand to cost 2 less for each one. Up to X target creatures phase out. Okay, that's more interesting. Blue has the ability to recur like a lot of draws, so having blue cards in your hand, especially excess ones, is still viable. The fact is exile the cards in your hand is a bit concerning, but phasing out is not anything to laugh at. In fact, this would have been the white ability if anything, because phasing out basically like removes the cards entirely, so they can't be targeted, they can't be affected, they can't do anything. But during, like before the untap step, they return. Basically just protect whatever you have, like they are just gone. They come back later. And that is a really nice effect to protect a lot of stuff. And it doesn't trigger into the battlefield effects because they're not entering the battlefield again, they're just like literally just misting out of existence for a bit and then returning. So it just is an outright protection, and the fact that for 1 blue and 1 card in your hand you can protect 2 things, or whatever you pump into it you can protect things. I don't want to call these good. This is definitely better than the white card was, but it's still not fantastic because of exiling a card. But in blue this is not relevant. I feel like this one should have been the white card. I definitely feel like this one should have been the white card, because white is known for phasing effects, Teferi's Protection being the biggest one. If this was a blue mana draw card effect of some kind for exiling cards, that would have made more sense to me. But unfortunately for me, like it is just it is a good card. Like it is a really powerful card if used right, because it protects your board from any kind of effect, and it's permanent. It's not just creatures. Oh no, it is just creatures. It's just creatures. I tell a lie. But yeah, it is just straight up creature protection. Yeah, no, that is really good. Mindthink Mech. It's a vehicle. It crews for 1 for a 4/3. That's actually really good costing. What's its downside? Whenever it's crewed for the first time each turn until the end phase. Hang on, wait, what? Whenever Mindlink Mech becomes crewed for the first time each turn until the end of turn, Mindlink Mech becomes a copy of target non-legendary creature that crewed it, except as a 4/3. This is just really good. What? So for a crew cost of 1, it copies the card which crewed its effects. So it basically becomes a copy of whatever crewed it. For a flying 4/3, so anything which like has an on-attack trigger, it's just good. It's a non-legendary card, so it can't be like Jin-Taxis or the Dragon. But looking like slightly up in this list, like it could become a copy of, for example, the Human Ninja here, which would be a great target. Or actually no, the Covert Technician's a better target. Sure, you're overcrewing it for 2 instead, but it just then becomes a card which puts an artifact into play, which is harder to block because it's flying. That is really terrifyingly good. I don't know why this is so good. This seems like unusually good. Mirror Shell Crab, very expensive crab for ward. Like this thing costs 7 for a 5/7. That is not exactly great economy here. Let's see here. For blue and 2 channel, discard the card. Counterspell ability unless its owner pays 3. Creature counterspell, that's not bad. I'm assuming at this stage that channel must be at instant speed, which makes it a lot better on effect if it is. Because you would never do this at sorcery speed. Like, you never counter a spell at sorcery speed. I don't know if you can counter a spell at sorcery speed. For the cost it is as a creature, it would never be worth it. For the counterspell effect, it could be. It's relevant. It's not good, it's relevant. Mnemonic Spear, artifact for 2, sacrifice to draw 2 cards. So you've got to pay 4 on it to draw 2 cards, or discard it to draw a card. Again, not fantastic. If you need an artifact to be put into the battlefield, it's okay. There are better choices, especially some of the vehicles. Paying a blue to draw a card, like just generically discard a card, draw a card, it's okay. It could synergize okay with the like card which puts things into play for free, but I feel like it costs the same amount to do it. At least it doesn't tap to do it, so that is one thing. It's generically okay. Like you would play it if you really need like an artifact strategy. Mobilized Mech, flying. Whenever it becomes crewed, up to 1 other target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature till end of turn. That's kind of cool. Okay. That is actually really cool. And crew 3. So for crew 3, for a 2 costing card, so not going to complain about its cost to begin with, it becomes a flying 3/4 which turns another vehicle into a creature, so it just turns on the vehicle. That is really nice. I like that as a vehicle card. Like, that is really cool. Why is blue getting all the cool vehicles? This feels like that should have been, again, some of the white strategy here, but no. This is just... I like this. This is like... This is tempo. Like, for tapping a single free power creature, you get 2 bodies, essentially. The Modern Age. Saga, draw a card, discard a card twice, and becomes a creature... What's it become? A 2/3 flying. If you're strapped for draw cards and need enchantments, okay. It's okay. It's not... It's cycling resources a bit more. Or if you have graveyard stuff, it could be useful. It's okay. It's a good common. It's an okay common. Moonstrucker Hacker, Ninjutsu Guard, cool. Whenever it does combat damage, you may draw a card if you do discard a card. Let's see here. Hang on, what? Whenever it deals damage, you may draw a card if you discard a card unless Moonstrucker Hacker entered the battlefield this turn. What? That's... What? So in other words, its ninjutsu ability detriments the card because you don't get its effect if you ninjutsu it in for cheap. That's bad. That's actually bad, because there's no reason to play this card if it's one defining trait that it comes into play and does damage to do an effect. Doesn't do an effect if you use this effect. No, that is just dumb. That is really, really dumb. Moonfolk Puzzle Maker. Moonfolk Wizard. Moonfolk. 1/4 flyer. Whenever it comes tapped, scry 1. 1/4 flyer for free, not fantastic, but given the fact it can cruise stuff and just scry you that way, and 1/4 is relevant stacks and limited to be a blocker, given that most of the things we've seen are like up to 3 for the most part, I don't dislike it. It could be a good vehicle blocker in most parts, and the scry ability could be useful, but I feel like it's just a bit too slow and a bit too expensive. It's sealed playable. Moonstare Prototype. Tap a artifact or creature, add a colorless. Okay, so just add a generic colorless, so mana rock for... Actually, that's not too bad. 1 blue for a mana rock. Oh, actually, no, you got to tap something to do it. Never mind. Channel, discard a prototype. The owner of target online opponent puts it at the bottom of the deck. It's not a good card. This isn't great. Like, its channel cost is too high to actually be relevant to do something compared to what we've seen before. And the fact you have to tap something else to add just a colorless is just too much. There's far better cards which do this better. Moonsnare Specialist. Ninjutsu Guard. Okay. When it enters, return target creature to its owner's hand. See, this is a good Ninjutsu card. It is a 2/2. It's expensive, unfortunately, but its effect, if it's unblocked and enters, returns a card to your hand, so you can remove a threat of some kind, a tapped creature maybe, or heck, even return one of your own things to just like be able to reuse it later. It's okay, it's playable, it's much more playable than that other ninja up there. Network Disruptor, artifact creature, never Moonfolk. Let's see here. When it enters the battlefield, tap a permanent. That, okay, 1 mana flyer, tap a permanent, really nice actually, I like that. That's just really relevant. It's got evasion, it can trigger ninjutsu stuff, it taps something so it gets through easier. Yeah, like it. Like, really nice. That's just really nice common. Planar Incision. Exile target artifact or creature. Then returns to control, +1/+1 counter on it. Oh, so it does a flickering effect, so it removes it then brings it straight back, but bigger. Re-triggers like enter the battlefield effects like the Network Disruptor we just spoke about. Not awful. 2 manas, not bad for that effect. I would say that's about on par for what it should be. Let's see here. Prosperous Thief, Ninjutsu Guard. Whenever 1 or more ninja or rogue creatures deal combat damage, create a treasure. Oh, that's actually really nice. That is really nice and terrifying for ninja decks. So, with this thing ninjutsuing out, when it deals combat damage, since you're putting them into play before the damage is dealt, you can make a lot of treasures doing this. So you would have a lot of spare resources afterwards, since you're basically paying... Well, if this just came out by itself, you're netting like 1 mana, so this thing costs 1 less in one argument to that. But yeah, that's really, really nice. I really like that. That's actually kind of scary. And the fact it's not a legendary creature too, like, you can clone shenanigans this stuff. And the fact it's just like 1 or more... Oh, hang on, no. No, I've misread this. It's 1 or more. It's not as good as I think it is. It creates only a single one, no matter how many things deal damage. But still, it creates a treasure token, which is still good. So it's definitely good. Not as broken as I thought it was, but good. And in fact, if you do make multiples of it, it still makes multiple treasures. So, hey-ho, copy shenanigans are still relevant. The Reality Chip. Artifact creature Jellyfish. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. Like that effect. Always like that effect. Knowing what you're playing is decent. Let's see here. When it's ever attached, you may cast the top card of your library and play lands. And so reconfigure cost is free. No, that is really nice. Like, okay, it doesn't give any stats to anything, but being a 0/4 by itself, look at the top card of your library, lets you know what you're playing. The equip cost isn't ridiculous like some of the other things. No, that's just a really nice, like, creature. Like, I like that. Reality Heist, instant, costs 1 less for each artifact you control. Look at the top 7 cards. Let's see here. Reveal 2 artifacts from among them, put them into your hand, rest at the bottom. It's expensive. It's 7 mana, but 5 generic. But given the fact of how this card reads, you're going to be playing in artifacts anyway. Reducing the cost as it stands, I think this is a decent card. Purely because by the time you're casting this, you're probably already control of a decent number of artifacts. Given that the amount of vehicles and artifacts we've seen from blues providing so far, I think this is playable. Definitely playable. Replication Specialist, Moonfolk Artificer, flying. Whenever a non-token artifact enters, you may pay 2, create a copy of the artifact. Ooh, expensive. 3/4, 5 mana, kind of expensive, but creating a token or something for 2 is still good. Because as long as it's not the token itself, for example, you could create copies of vehicles with this, and like copies. I mean, Soul Ring itself is a 2 mana artifact. Let's see, but it also says when it enters the battlefield under your control. So this is after it's already entered. So you can actually use the card, if I'm reading it correctly, you can use the card itself to pay for it if it's a mana rock. So if it's a Soul Ring, you can tap it to basically create its own clone, given that you still need a blue. But that's just an example. So definitely decent. Expensive, but decent. There's better ways of cloning stuff, but as a creature body, it's not bad, especially flying. I'm glad that it has flying on it, because that makes it at least more relevant. Cyber Trespassers, blue and 4, channel, discard the card for 3, tap 2 target creatures you don't control, they don't untap during the upkeep step, it's a 3/5. It's an artifact creature, so it's a relevant typing, but it's very expensive for what it does. There's better options. Sealed playable maybe, but I feel like we've seen better choices overall. Short Circuit is an enchantment aura. Flash. Flash is always good. Instant speed. Artifact or creature, -3, -0, and loses flying. See, that's a nice card because we've seen a lot of the vehicles already. They've been flying. A lot of the cards in blue have been flying. Just being able to take that away from them, it's going to be really nice. I like it. It's generic, it's useful, it's flash. It just does what it says on the tin. It doesn't prevent it from attacking, but it might make it smaller so it's no longer a threat. And also the fact you can do it on a vehicle as it's still a vehicle is still good too. Skyswim McCoy is a fish. It's a flying fish. When it enters the battlefield, you may draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. 4 mana for 3/3. Flying fish. Doesn't share too many relevant like creature types or anything. I mean, drawing a card is just generically okay, especially for like 4 mana. It's not the worst for a 3/3 body. For a flyer, I feel like there's better options, but again, it's just kind of okay, kind of on the poor side than the better side, just because it's just like, I don't know. I don't know what you could do to make that much better. At least it's not restricted. Spell Pierce is a reprint card, which is actually a really nice reprint card. Counter non-target creature spell unless they pay 2 really early on. If you drop this, like, it can stop a lot of early plays from happening. That is just a really good common. If you have a chance to like grab some of these, they're good sideboard cards. I play in my Pioneer deck. Suit Up is a blue and 2 until end of turn. Target creature becomes a vehicle. Sorry, target vehicle or creature becomes an artifact with base power 4/5. Draw a card. Okay, that's okay. It's expensive for what it does. Blue doesn't really tend to do pumping effects too much, so it could come out of nowhere. I don't know, honestly. Like, 4/5 isn't fantastic for free. The fact it has draw a card on it at least makes it more relevant. I feel like it'd be a good cantrip and sealed, but outside of that, I don't think I'll see any play of it. Tamashi Reality Architect, legendary Merfolk Wizard. As Moonfolk Wizard. God, I read that as Merfolk. Let's see. Whenever one or more non-creature permanents are returned to the hand, draw a card. This ability only triggers once each turn. Why are we putting this hard once per turn effect on things at the moment? Because, like, all we need is the one or more return to the hand, draw a card, because that is already enough. Because that would only mean you're drawing one card, say from that bounce spell we ran into earlier, like, you would only be drawing one card even if you return, like, oh, it's the dragons to return cards. Even if you return, like, all 6 permanents, 1-mana permanents, you'd only be drawing one card. Actually, I've just realised that dragon from earlier, if I quickly return to it in a moment, since it says specifically up to 6, tokens count as 0, so you could just, like, remove a token board. That's actually a lot more powerful than I first gave it credit for. Going back to the other one, though. The once per turn really hurts this thing. Blue and X, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Return an artifact or enchantment with mana value X from the graveyard to the battle. Ugh. I don't like this card. Don't get me wrong, if you're late game, like, returning resource to your hand, why is it a white cost for 1? Like, why are you paying white to do this? Why X here? Why return a land just to get an artifact or enchantment back? You're actively slowing down your own resources to bring a card back from the graveyard, which we've already seen other cards of this set do this. You can only do it at sorcery speed, and even if you're doing it just for her other half of the effect, the fact it's a hard once per turn just really makes this thing awful. Like, this is so restrictive in so many ways. You do not need this many restrictions on a rare card, especially since it's only a 2/3 body. Like, this thing can die super easily. Even the fact it's a wizard doesn't make it relevant. Like, okay, sure, double wizard effects, big whoop, you draw 2 cards if you return a card, which most times people aren't returning things to hand anyway. They're aiming to actually exile or destroy. I'm sorry, but this thing is just, like, really bad in my opinion. Unless I'm genuinely missing something, the fact it only triggers once each turn for 1 card draw. Like, why are you just preventing it to 1 card draw? Why does the X spell return a land to your hand? Why is the X cost a sorcery speed? None of that. I mean, okay, I can understand the sorcery speed, like returning a permanent maybe, but why would you want to return? I mean, at least that bit's not like a once per turn, but by the time you're paying X to, like, cast something big, you've already wasted more resources than it's worth. The only way this could be worse is if it was actually a tap effect. Oh god, this card has annoyed me. Okay, Tamio's completion. Enchantment or a flash. Enchant creature, artifact, or planeswalker. When it enters the battlefield, tap the enchanted permanent. If it's an equipment, unattach it. Enchanted permanent loses all abilities and does not untap to his untap step. That's weird. You can tap a planeswalker with this. It's not... Tapping a planeswalker is really weird. It doesn't make it a creature, it just removes all abilities. Like, this is a good card. Like, this is a good card because it just literally removes what the card does. It taps the card down, locks down its effects, and just, like, keeps it under wraps. The fact it also has Planeswalker on it is really big. The fact it's also artifact, so it does it to vehicles, does it to equipment, and it unattaches the equipment if it was that as well. It just turns off what the cards do. That is really, really nice for a common. 4 mana is not a lot to pay for this effect. Like, we saw the 3 mana version earlier, which just, like, you know, made something smaller and just prevented it from doing stuff. But that I really like. That is a really nice common. And definitely a breath of fresh air compared to whatever Tamashi was. So I'm so annoyed about that previous card. Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. Okay, this is the Planeswalker for blue. First activate ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less. Have we seen any artifacts with activated effects? Outside of, like, that draw card? I mean, it could be relevant for the channel costs, because I think the channel costs are, like... I mean, reconfigure, actually, yeah. Reconfigure, that's an equipment cost. That would be reduced, because they're artifact creatures. Okay, so yeah, it reduces that by 2. That's actually kind of okay. Just for generic, it does it by just being on the board effect. I like that. That's okay. Draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. So draw 2, discard an artifact. Again, you'll be playing just an artifact deck, so relevant. -2, artifact becomes an artifact vehicle. If it isn't a vehicle, it has base power 4/4. So either turn a vehicle on or make an artifact of 4/4. Not fantastic. Could be relevant sometimes, but not great. Oh, it has an emblem. -6, you gain an emblem with whenever an artifact you control becomes tapped, draw a card. That is really good. That is really, really good. Like, given that, you know, we've got vehicles, we've got tapping effects, like, we have a lot of stuff which do it, mana rocks themselves. Just the fact you draw a card whenever artifact becomes tapped. The only downside to this is that it's not a May, but even that's like not super dangerous. This is a really powerful Planeswalker. I really like this Planeswalker. This is terrifying. Tezzeret always has like powerful effects whenever it's printed, and this one's no different. Sure, the -2 isn't relevant, but you're aiming for that 6. And the fact it has a static ability of reducing artifact costs by 2 is just straight up good. Like, even just maybe not so much fully in a set outside of equipments and maybe channel costs stuff, but the fact it just reduces activated effects. Oh, hang on. The first activated effect. Okay, I've misread it, but still, even the first one is still good reduce. But I can see it being an easy trigger to miss sometimes, admittedly. First for knowledge. Oh, this is a reprint. Draw 3 cards, discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact. 3 mana, draw 3, discard 1. Really good. Like, straight up good. No doubts. Thousand Face Shadow. Human Ninja Ninjutsu. 1 mana ninja for 1/1. It's a flying ninja, so it's got evasion, so just playing it as itself is still good, even without ninjutsu. But what does it actually do? When it's a battlefield from your hand, if it's attacking, create a copy that's another target attacking creature. The token enters tapped and attacking. That is kind of cool. Okay, so if you just play it for 1/1, it does nothing. It's just a 1/1 ninja. If you ninjutsu it for 4, which is expensive, admittedly, for a 1/1, but it just straight up makes a token copy of something else tapped and attacking. Which means, essentially, I don't know, let's say you've got the lovely 6/6 vehicle from before. You just make a token copy of it, and it doesn't go away. It just stays. It is a permanent copy. Like, it doesn't say exile end of attack or anything like that. It just says tapped and attacking. It doesn't go away. That could be really relevant for the ninja strategy. I like that card. That is a really cool one. I think it's just going to be based on timing when you put it into play, because by the sounds of it, you can ninjutsu... Because you can ninjutsu as many things as you want, as long as like something is unblocked. You just have to return it to hand. So if you have 3 creatures tapped and attacking, you pay ninjutsu cost for 1, you return 1 to your hand, you put in another 1, then you repeat for each other creature you have. You can technically do, like, say you've got this 1 ninjutsu card, you can return all 3 creatures and just like play this once. Could be relevant for some protection, but you can't go past like the number of attacking things, essentially. But no, that's like really, really powerful, really, really good. I really like that one. That is just like terrifying. I can see that being really abused, like creating token copies of things with enter the battlefield effects. But that is it for the blue side of things. Let me know what you think of that one. I'm really, really upset about that legendary creature. Like, oh my god, that thing just seems generically awful. Like, unless I'm genuinely missing a line, that thing just is near unplayable, like compared to other things. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We've gone through all of blue in this section. The first video going up should be all of white, so if you've got any more questions, feel free to ask them at the very end. Because I'm recording all this in one go, I won't be able to like respond to comments about this set as we go along. But because obviously like I've already said what I'm going to be saying about black in a moment. But these are just my like first impressions of this set entirely. And so far, I'm actually really impressed. I'm more impressed than I thought I would be. It's a shame I'm not buying into it right now, just due to like how much it costs to do so. But yeah, I really like it. Tezzeret so far has been like the most powerful card in my opinion. I do like the blue X spell, but I just don't like the exile card effect in my opinion. And that dragon's a lot more powerful than I first thought when I looked at it. But so far, I've been liking the set. So I will see you in the next part, which will be the black cards of Kamigawa.